This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are not your headlines. You see, this week I have a different show for you, as I am in hospital having an operation. So before I go into surgery, I have trawled our crime desk files to bring you an extended crime desk show this week whilst I'm away. These are cases we did not have time for in our regular show, so here it is. An extended crime desk of murder and mayhem. Stories that passed us by. To kick off this unique show, why don't we get ourselves onto some well-trodden territory, land that we have walked so many times before. And it's of course a tale of a hit-and-run driver. The headline read, "Drunk driver tries to flee after death of Phnom Penh man." Yes, yet another drunk driver murdered an innocent motorist, and yet again he tried to flee the scene, but this time he was caught. And before we get into the body of this tale, let's take a look at the photo. Here is the man that killed an innocent motorist. He is taking a breath test that was to condemn him. But hang on, it's all rather blurry. We want to look into the face of the man. We want him to be unveiled so we may know what a cold-blooded killer looks like. Well, fortunately, I can help. Here he is. It is this man. He was driving a Star X when he lost control and hit a motorist on a motorbike, and he killed him stone cold dead. Now, my best guess when reading any report like this, and it has the words lost control, is in fact code for he was probably texting. And my goodness, this drunk driver was going at a fair old speed. Just have a look at the damage done to his Star X van. This was no glancing blow. This was one almighty hit, and the motto driver had no chance at all. After causing the man's death, the driver of the van left the bloodied body in the road, and he tried to flee, but he was chased by residents and captured, and then handed over to the police. And well done to those citizens who did the right thing. For if it was not for them wrestling him to the ground, the drunk driver would have sworn up and down he was not drunk that night. In fact, he would have sworn he was as sober as the judge he is now due to meet. Now it is these kind of stories that are the most tragic, I feel, because they pay the highest price, and each and every one is probably avoidable. Let me show you two images, and when I do so, I will not even offer any commentary, just the two images. Both faces have been blurred for anonymity. Here they are. Now that was a young girl and a young boy. They were brother and sister, and they now are both dead. The girl was 12, the boy just 5. The headline read, "Siblings die in house fire in Battambang province." A girl and a boy have tragically died in a house fire while they were sleeping in BB province. The house fire started in the early hours of the morning. Mother, father, and family were all fast asleep. But during that fateful night, it's believed a spark jumped from some badly installed wiring, and then a single ember grew into a roaring inferno. It was not long before the house was consumed by the fire. Both mother and father woke in dense smoke, desperate for fresh air, as their bursting lungs filled with toxic fumes. They had a mental map in their head, and they scrambled to get out of the house. The tragedy is, there was no time to save the two small children. The agony these parents now have to live with is incalculable. And what ifs that haunt us all at night time are nothing compared to what these two will now have to live through. They will forever blame themselves for not saving their two young children. It is a burden that few of us could carry. So no matter What worries you? Remember this couple and remember their eternal anguish, one that they can never be free of. Our next headline reads, South Korean arrested for killing woman. And that somewhat bland headline does not do this story justice. You see, a Korean man named Lee Tak-sik was arrested for killing a young Cambodian woman. The young woman, it was said, was his girlfriend. But it all went horribly wrong at the Home Chic Hotel located on Street 282, Phnom Penh. And unlike most murders, this one was not committed at night, but at 10:30 in the morning. An odd hour for a murder of this kind. But there was CCTV footage that clearly showed the couple may well have been up all night, as they did not check into the hotel until 3 a.m. And maybe it was this late hour that caused fatigue and the short tempers that led to a fierce fight. The man had become enraged when he saw what he believed was his girlfriend's unreasonable behaviour, and in a fit of rage he placed his hands around his girlfriend's neck and he squeezed her throat. Her eyes bulged as she fought to try and get free, but his iron-like grip, fuelled by anger, had her clamped tight. It was not long until her body became limp, and when he released his grip, she fell lifeless to the floor. He then panicked and grabbed some personal items and left the hotel at 11 a.m. But it was only 30 minutes later the cleaner made her way down the corridor, pushing her little trolley. She opened the room's door with her pass key, and the room appeared to be empty. That was until she noticed a limb of a still body. She looked under the bed, and to her horror, she saw a dead body of a young woman. Police were soon called and the suspect was arrested. The man was asked why did he kill his girlfriend, but he gave no answer. But soon enough, a judge will be asking him that exact same question again, as he desperately fights for his freedom. Next, let us take a step back. Instead of looking at a single crime, we shall take a bird's eye view and look into the very dark heart of crime itself. We stare into the very engine room as to what it is that drives most criminal activity, not just here in the kingdom, but across the world. And that, of course, is drugs. Now, have a guess how many people were arrested for drug-related issues in January alone? Just those 4 weeks in Jan. How many? Was it 200 arrests, 400, 800, 1,000 even? Well, unfortunately, you would still be short of the mark. The headline read, Cambodia detains 1,311 drug suspects, seized over 423 kilos of narcotics in January. Now that is a whole load of arrests and close to half a ton of gear in just 4 short weeks. Let's tell the truth, the police work is nothing but a constant treadmill that only ever points uphill. These recent numbers from the drug department are a little depressing, but they also give real clarity as to what is going on that is unique to the kingdom, as a whopping 56% of those arrested were drug traffickers and transporters, while a smaller 44% were drug users. Now that clearly shows that this is all about Cambodia being in the heart of the Golden Triangle and being a hub for drug gangs to ship their loads. January's 420 kilos of drugs were mostly ketamine, crystal meth, heroin and cocaine. Drugs are the blight of man. It fills our prisons and our courts. And unfortunately for Cambodia, unlike most countries, it is also its geographic location that makes it oh so attractive to drug cartels who are looking to reach the rich Western markets. We now walk away from our crime desk and amble into the finance department. And here we find some rather good news that oddly involves a horse with a blue top hat. The headlines scream to anyone that would listen. IMF says Cambodia's economy will grow by 5.8% in 2025. And that, my dear friends, is bloody good news. The International Monetary Fund has released a report predicting that Cambodia's economy will grow by 5.8% in 2025, supported by key sectors such as tourism, garments and agriculture. But, and it's rather a big but, the construction and real estate sectors continue to be very uncertain due to the increase in non-performing loans and private debt. And this is what scares me as an investor. The banks of late have slashed their interest rates, and trust me, you're lucky to get 5% on USD or even 6% on KHR. Rates like that are as rare as a horse wearing a powder blue top hat. Oh look, there's one there. Also, another side punch is inflation, which is said will increase from 0.5% to 2% in 2025, which is a hell of a hike in percentage terms, a full 400%. But statistics are statistics, making things look scary, when in fact a 2% increase is more than manageable. But with this promising economic growth, the financial drag after COVID is coming to an end, and the kingdom does have a sunnier outlook for 2025 and beyond. Hurrah indeed! So here to end is another horse wearing a powder blue top hat. It turns out that these things are a lot more common than I ever thought. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week.
Okay, and here we are at the weather, but we have no weather, do we? Because I'm in hospital, so this is being pre-recorded. So the weather hasn't even happened yet. So what am I going to do to fill this space? Well, you may remember a couple of weeks ago, I put up some spooky carousel stuff. Actually, that was 2 weeks ago. And then last week, you had pictures of me fondling a goat. Actually, it was film footage. Rare stuff indeed. And I've decided to fill this gap here with some more footage from that very same fair. But what I'm going to do is play the music that was being played at the fairground, and then I'm switching it to scary music because it makes it so surreal. And to me, surreal stuff is true art. I absolutely love the surreal. So here you go, a little bit of surreal art to end the show.
This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.